We're in Athens. And next to me is Perry. You're working for Aerohive.
Yes, Perry Correll at Aerohive.
Could you give a brief introduction of yourself?
Okay, yeah, I'm director of our product management at Aerohive. I've been Aerohive quite some time. I've been in Wi-Fi for about 12 or 13 years, and my experience, I hate to say, goes back about 30 years to the early Cabletron days and thicknet cable and token ring and FDDI and all those other technologies that have long since died. So my passion right now necessarily isn't the hardware anymore, but it's all what you can do with Wi-Fi. Basically, the intelligence and the feature sets and the innovation you can do. Basically, how to make your life simpler.
That's what we discussed just a couple of minutes ago, is how fast IT is changing from a very technical-oriented world to a more business-oriented world.
That's such a key point because, as we were saying a little while ago, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, when you're talking about Wi-Fi, you're talking to the IT team and you're talking about 11N and 11AC and all that technical type stuff. But now it's really about what Wi-Fi can do for you. It's about the applications. It's about some innovative type stuff. And it's not really about the infrastructure, which is extremely important.
Yep.
But that's just the foundation. That's the starting point. The fun stuff is now what can I do with that network?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing with Nalta as well.
Okay.
We're building great IoT solutions. And for us, it's very important that the network, the infrastructure is in place. And that's why we love to use your products.
No, that's really important to understand because, once again, IoT is kind of like BYOD on steroids because it's like, at least with BYOD, you had smart devices. You had tablets, you had phones, you had laptops or whatever. With IoT, pretty much Wi-Fi chipsets are so cheap now, you can put it in anything. So you have headless devices or basically dumb devices now that are designed to do one thing, just gather information from point A and send it to point B. So there's actually a lot more challenges dealing with IoT once you start figuring out the security side of it and where is this information going. And also when you're dealing with GDPR rules and stuff, you got to actually manage that a lot more than you had to worry about with just a phone.
But does Aerohive do that differently compared to other vendors? Because they all have a great setup, great connection, great hardware. How does Aerohive differentiate from these vendors, from a strategic vision point of view and from a maybe more technical point of view?
Okay, well, it's actually a little bit of both. One of the things that is Aerohive's foundation is something we call cooperative control. Cooperative control was the idea is that you're going to integrate and distribute the intelligence in all the devices. And we've been doing that since day one. These days, it's what's being called software-defined. So you hear software-defined LAN, software-defined WAN, software-defined networking. The whole idea is the intelligence is built in. And why that's important in an IoT environment is with IoT, you've really got 3 areas you've got to deal with. One is onboarding.
Okay.
If it's one device, who cares? But if it's hundreds of devices and they're headless, I'm going to want to sit there and plug MAC addresses and IP addresses. So I have to have an easy way to deploy it.
So that's a provisioning thing and a scalability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The next thing is once I start, lighting this device up or bringing it into network, I have to determine what it is. And we team with other vendors, and we've actually got a list of over 8 million signatures that when you plug a new device in, this intelligent the edge will automatically start going, okay, what is this? Is it a phone? Is it a tablet? Is it a laptop? Is it a sensor? Is it an infusion pump? Is it a pacemaker? What it is? Based on information about the product and the traffic it generates, then I get to decide what this is, and I'll put it in the appropriate bucket.
This is unique for
this. We think it's unique.
Okay.
Well, what happens now is once it's in this bucket, then I apply rules for it. And if those rules get violated, then I want to know. This is the monitoring part. One of the things we talked about before, let's say I deploy a thermostat on the wall. Thermostat's going to generate a little bit of traffic, maybe a couple of kilobytes per second. It's going to be stuck in one location, and it's only going to talk to one other, maybe a server. When that changes, if it's a thermostat on the wall and starts moving, something just happened, I want to know. Or if it typically does 200K worth of traffic a day, and all of a sudden it's doing 10 meg. Okay, maybe the denial of service attack, maybe somebody's hacking in there, and maybe it's starting to do a different application. So people are taking advantage of it, and that's what you need to know. So you got to have the provisioning, you got to have the right assignment, and then you got to have continual monitoring that if something out of character happens, if an anomaly occurs, I need to throw that into some type of quarantine bucket until I can determine, is that a threat to my network?
That was the second or the third item?
That was the third. Okay, the first was provisioning, the second was classification, and then third was overall monitoring.
Yeah. So looking at IoT
Yeah.
from a business perspective, how does this change the way you have conversations with customers and partners?
It's because it's not about what the device will do physically. It's not about, you know, where I'm going to deploy it and stuff. It's what it actually can do for you. Because IoT is all about gathering data. And to be honest with you, most people don't know what they're going to do with the data yet. You know, it's kind of like the monetization.
Not our customers.
Not your customer. But it's like the monetization of Wi-Fi. It was a great thing 5 or 6 years ago. It's like, okay, now what do I do? But it's now I'm gathering all this information, and now I've just got to be smart with it. I've got to simplify my life. So whether you call it machine-to-machine learning or AI, with this data, I ought to be smart enough to allow the system to make decisions. I shouldn't have to do everything. Obviously, important stuff. We still need our jobs.
Absolutely.
But the whole idea is to simplify it as much as possible.
So you started a long time ago in this industry.
Yes.
Actually, the wired industry.
Correct.
And you moved to wireless.
Yes.
And now you moved to software business, value-added driven business on top of wireless. So what did you enjoy the most? This is a personal question.
Enjoy the most is what we're doing right now. Because one, in my Ethernet days and tokering and FDDI, it was fun, and you get to be a techno nerd and do all that stuff. In the early Wi-Fi days, you know, setting up Wi-Fi for, you know, huge conventions and stuff. That was challenging, but that was technically challenging. What's more fun now is, okay, I built that infrastructure. It's solid. It's reliable. I'm confident in it. Now what can I do with the data? And because now it's a lot of what ifs. And you get to have conversations with the chief marketing officers. You get to have conversations with people that are innovative. It's that they'll come to me now and I'm talking to them. We're not talking about how many APs to deploy. We're talking about, what if I did this? You know, what if I use this information for this person? How can I actually leverage this better? What can I actually do with this data?
Yep.
And that's the cool part. You know, where you're in, it's actually much more, it's I don't want to say it's not as exciting, but it's actually more dangerous because it's human health. I mean, I'm monitoring medical equipment, and so obviously the reliability has to be at such a high level.
Yep.
But then it's like, what information can give me a better idea? How can I be predictive about stuff, not just reactive? And that's the fun stuff. That's where you just actually brainstorm.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure, and thanks for picking a great spot.
And it was great fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.